Hello everybody, I am JJ and you are currently watching some monkey business. So now that we got the introductions out of the way, you might be asking yourself, JJ, what's this thing you're doing here? What are you doing? What are you doing? Okay, so I am making a LEGO Splatoon MOC. What kind of MOC? A display MOC. And what's it about? Well, taking a look at the video, you could probably make an educated guess. If you're aware of the Splatoon lore, you might recognize this character as Agent 3. Not to be confused with the one in Splatoon 3, but instead the one from Splatoon 1, who later went on to be the captain of the new Squidbeak Splatoon. And the reason why I picked Agent 3 as a character is because, well, the game they're from, Splatoon on the Wii U, released back in 2015, recently celebrated its 10th anniversary last year. And being a franchise that left an impact on a lot of people, especially me, and with LEGO and Nintendo's recent partnership, I think it'd be great to celebrate the franchise with a set like this. And also because I really like the hero mode, so yeah.
The overarching concept keeps me entertained.
But don't get me wrong, this idea has been cooking for like a while now. I mean, pretty much ever since I saw these two sets, which were a LEGO Wednesday Addams set and LEGO Wicked set, which use the same character base. And I thought the character proportions matched the Inkling super well, so I thought, why not use it? So yeah, now to the present. I built up a base, as you can see over there, like right next to the Inkling. Apparently the faceplate and the hands don't really exist in Studios, which is like the app that I'm using to like make these models. So I went into Blender and modeled up some pieces, and well, later on I ended up having to scrap my own faceplate model because I didn't scale it right when importing, as well as it looking inaccurate. So yeah, with the main body, suit, and all that done, it's time to focus on the head. Oh no, that is not good, that is shaking. So what I'm doing here is like that little headband that's on like the back of the headphones and like that Agent 3 wears. Looking back, I mean, it just kind of looked like it's going through the skull, which looks uncomfortable, so yeah, it won't stay like this in the final product, so trust me. And here we have the headphones. Gotta be honest, I wasn't too much of a fan of this first iteration. It looked too blocky. Here we have also me doing the tentacles. Tried using Technic beams and stuff with mixed little joints. Another thing is that I genuinely didn't know in what orientation to like put them in. Should have put them in the front, should have put them in the back. In the games it kind of like flip-flops depending on like the context. Here's another thing I'd like to mention. It was pretty difficult finding the perfect curved bricks to achieve the tentacles curvature. I opted to use wedges for the time being, but you'll see later into the video that it won't stay that way, thankfully. And here we have our first iteration. I later changed the hair color to orange because, well, it matches the box art Inkling, it contrasts better, and some other memory. Anyways, now it's time to make this thing better. My first priority with the second iteration is to redesign the headphones. For that, I'm going to use some wheel pieces. I feel like these ones provide a better shape and work well at the scale I'm going for. All that so I can stick a bar into it. Which, infuriatingly enough, the moment after I finish the entire model, I come to find out that the connection is actually very tight. And I'm not sure if it's illegal or not. Goes to show that digital building is not always better than physical, huh? For shame. But nevertheless, we persevere. Although, another thing I should mention, the LEGO wheels on like the headphones, I also came to find out that they were actually really old pieces. Kind of like the 1970s, I think. Not sure the exact year. I'm sure like editing me will figure that out. Anyways, so yeah, that collar connection. I actually found like a Lego wheel that actually looked good. I know it's kind of like held up, like not really with any connections at all. But later on, it did add like a little bumper thing so that it actually stays still. Oh yeah, this part. Apparently, I kept like using like 4mm bendable bars which don't actually connect in any clips. I spent like so much time trying to like see if they could like connect in any way, but nah. I did find the 3mm ones which were actually the ones that fit. So yeah, here's the second iteration. This time the tentacles, I mean, didn't look too good either, but I mean, we're getting somewhere. And we made it somewhere. This is kind of close to what we ended up getting. So, yeah. And now, for the weapon, the hero shot. See, here's the thing. Building these types of weapons at such a small scale is just very, very complicated. I mean, it's possible, but very complicated. Especially with the bottle above the gun barrel. Finding a piece with a similar shape was hard. Had to experiment with a bunch of pieces. A flipper, a snail, hair for some reason. I mean, yeah, like I said, we're experimenting, so, I mean, ended up with this egg. It's kind of similar, but we'll find a better piece soon. Well, now that we put the weapon on the agent's hand, well, as can I say, I built the ink tank. Can't forget that. I also made the ornament on the side of the suit. I didn't like how I built it in brick form, so I later on put it on the print itself. Tentacles are nice, headphones are nice. I don't think there's much to say except the fact that I ended up changing a few details later on. I added an ink splatter effect and a better shape for the top. So, in conclusion, that's Agent 3 sorta done. Let's move on to making the prints. So, in order to start creating our prints, we need references. That's why I downloaded these models off Models Resource, a website primarily focused on providing 3D models from various video. Anyway, sorry you had to see that. Using our screenshots and references of the inspiration models, we're going to start by giving the Inkling a face. Which is a straightforward process, even though it just seems like I'm just tracing and whatnot. But I do take certain stylistic liberties later on. Trust me, you'll see it in a bit. So, here's the thing you gotta know about me. I like to consider myself someone who's very big on accuracy. And it's pretty much why I have the prints from the Wednesday and Wicked models on the side, so I can use them as reference and match the style their face prints are going for. Although, I do have to tone down the cuteness of the prints a bit. I don't really think Splatoon's really known for that. Well, all that was left to be done now was to adjust some details, change some colors here and there, add a smile, like I'm doing here, and add some shading. And aside from that, well, I think that's the face done. Then I went on to make the bangs, which were pretty easy. They were just like 3-ish colors they had to do. Actually, no, I think it was 2, because the orange is already on the part itself. I also knew I wanted to add like different faces for the Inkling to have, so that they could have like a determined expression or a happy expression, depending on which one you wish to display. But now it was time to make the prints for the weapon, the suit, and all other thingamajigs, thingamabobs, what have you. Again, straightforward process, just add some green links, add some lights here and there, yeah. You know, something I find particularly interesting about existing LEGO prints, or, well, only the examples I've seen, is the fact that they tend to go for halftones when trying to replicate gradients, or when it transitions from one color to another. So I did exactly that. I just took halftone plugin I use with my image editing software, paint.net, and I made some little gradients here and there. And now it's time to make the prints for the hero suit. This was pretty much another instance of me using a model's resource model as reference. I initially had thought of using a black tile to put this print on, but that just looked weird on the model, so I changed it back to the neon yellow from before. And seeing as we are on the print section of this video, I'm just gonna go forward in time and show you all the process of how I made the prints for the model's base. All I pretty much did was take screenshots from the game, trace various signs and other objects, and make prints out of them. I think it'd probably be common sense to just go into the game's files and extract the textures, but I just felt too lazy to even do that. And well, but that's just it for the prints on the base. And here's my first attempt at importing the prints, which look fine and all, until I actually exported them into Bricklink Studio, and well, yeah, apparently back when I recorded this footage, there was a bug with Studio that prevented prints from looking right on curved pieces. Thankfully, it's been fixed on newer versions. And yeah, you can see right here that the face can change and stuff, which is pretty cool. I like it. And here's the happy, the joyful creature. Here's the... And so, to cap off this mission, I went ahead and added the other prints, such as the ones made for the hero shot, the vest, what have you. And look at that, I also added prints to the tentacles. And yes, I did improve their builds. So yeah, that's the prints done. Now let's move on to the base. Yeah, if I had to be honest, I'm not really good at doing base builds. I am much more experienced with doing like buildable figures, but like bases, that's really new to me. I literally tried like several ways to like make like a curvy thing, but like it just ended up looking weird, or just using like very flimsy connections and stuff. But hey, whatever it takes for me to get out of my Lego building comfort zone, eh? But yeah, it's kind of clear at this point that we're just going nowhere, so let's go find some inspiration in the meantime, shall we? So after a bit of looking at some of LEGO's existing display sets, I came across this set meant for Horizon Forbidden West. Never played the game, nor does this video revolve around it, but that base build is looking real neat, so let's take inspiration from it. So the thing with the Horizon set's base is that the designer built it using a technique called the 5-2 rule. What is the 5-2 rule, you may ask? Well, it's pretty much a measurement rule where for every 5 plates stacked on top of each other, it measures exactly 2 studs on its side. And you see, the central base is built in this sort of vertical manner, if that makes sense. Then it's placed on its side and the rest of the build is built on top of it, making the end result look very elegant. Well, in case you missed it. That's pretty much what I did here. I tried making a circular base, but filling up gaps proved to be very difficult, so I chose to have a square with rounded edges. As you can see here, I did try to like make the base have like more of this dynamic shape. I mean, not the base, but like the base. You get what I'm saying? And here's me fiddling around with it more. At the end I did go for like a more rectangular shape for like the base, because that shape there did feel a bit limiting, if I had to be honest. A lot of pieces too. So yeah, I turned it rectangular and stuff, and now it was time to build the actual thing that Agent 3 is going to stand on. I wanted to take inspiration from the first 3 tutorial levels plus that one boss level with the Octostomp. As you can see right there, I also wanted to take inspiration from how dilapidated the main hub of Octo Valley was. So that's why that brick wall is there, to make it look broken down and stuff. And not just that, I also wanted to like take inspiration from the place where you pop out of, like in Octo Valley, and just made like the manhole cover inside the little container thing. I felt like filling up that space with a reference because I thought the 2 plates I would be putting up on top would stay up well, so I didn't feel like adding support, so yeah. Although, like I said before, you can't really trust digital building because, well, real physics aren't really taken into account here. Anyways, now for the top part. So about that guardrail piece, specifically the one on the side, yeah, about that one, the thing is, it's another case of an old piece, so I discarded it and used the other one instead. Isn't it accurate? Sure, but it'll do the job for now. One of the things I knew I wanted to do for this project was adding the spawn point. You know that little spawn point where you spawn out of in like the hero mode levels? That's the one. I originally wanted to make it like the same size as it is in the game, but it's kind of too big for this base, so I ended up just doing a smaller one instead. It kind of looks like the checkpoint, which, funnily enough, in Splatoon 1 is actually just a smaller version of the spawn point. Anyhow, putting the Inkling in the base was actually pretty funny. I did like multiple tries to like get it to be in the base, but it just wouldn't stay on until now. With the agent now on the base, we can move onwards to adding details to the side and posing our agent. For the pose, I wanted to make it so that the agent would be like, and they would pose it like, look at me, you know, it's so cool and stuff. And yeah, it's just a matter of just moving parts around and stuff. That's pretty much all there is to this bit. But wait, something is missing, isn't there? That's right, the ink. That's the point of the game. You just gotta dirty it up. So, yeah, I just added some ink here and there, and yeah. Can't believe I almost forgot about it. It would have been like hearsay, heresy, however you say it. And finally, moving on to the last bit of detail in this mock, the little sign things. They're pretty much just thrown about in every level of the game, so I figured why not just include them here as well. You can pretty much see that I was like trying to experiment with different designs. Like that thing, right there. I think it's like a mirror. Don't really know what it is. And I didn't like the process of getting this to look right because of that rain cover up top. I never really found a way to properly build it. Like, trust me, I went like back and forth trying to look for a better way, but couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. This was as close as I got to it. I'm sorry, I just couldn't. Can't even build it IRL. But afterwards, it kind of feel like there were too many signs that kind of made the whole thing look cluttered, so I just basically removed these and some other ones. So yeah, all that was left to be done before we added the final prints to the base was to just finish some posing and take a look around just to see if there were any things to be changed. And by creating some prints and adding them to the model, we finally get our final product. So, without further ado, let's see what we caught. Well, here it is. My LEGO Splatoon Agent 3 display mock. All finished. Overall, I'd say the final product came out super well. Like, I'd actually buy this. I'd like genuinely buy this if this became like a real set. Well, seeing as we're here, we could probably talk about the details in here. So let's do that. I want to start with Agent 3 themselves. As you can see, they have their normal agent attire, the hero suit. I'm actually really proud of how I built the tentacles. It's actually a pretty neat snot technique I use here, with like that little round shape at the bottom. That really sold the shaping a lot, especially using that new reddish orange that was introduced in like those space sets. I thought that was a pretty interesting color to like use for this mock, so I took the opportunity. Another thing I'd like to note is this piece right here, the little back things on the Inkling's hair. It's actually a really new piece, which funny enough got added the moment I was finishing up the mock. So big thanks to the studio devs. You're all real for that. Couldn't have made this bit look as good without it. Now let's talk about the ink tank. The ink tank is actually a pretty simple build. It's just like a little central round brick that's just holding up the whole thing, with a friction Technic pin right here held up on the back with like a rotated plate. As you can see right here, there's a light in the top of the ink tank. I know I could have probably built that with actual bricks, but like, yeah, there's just no 3x3 round plates that would suit me, so I ended up just printing the details instead. The shoes are actually one detail that took me a lot of time to like figure out, because there's like a very specific shape the shoes use. So I just did what I could to build up this shoe. Well, these shoes. There's a plural. There are two of them. Now for the hero shot. Like I said before, I did use this little piece. Apparently it's called the bicocket.
I never knew that word was a thing until now.
But yeah, this was pretty much just a very complicated thing to build. I think I got the job right. I did like how I put this little I don't know what this is called. This is a little the little L. Anyway, so this ink effect, I'm actually really grateful because I found these pieces by pure chance. Didn't think there were any good pieces fit for a shooting effect, but apparently there were like some superhero sets that actually use this piece. It does make for a pretty goopy effect, if I do say so. So yeah. Then we can move on to the secondary faces. I wanted to give them secondary faces because I think the models which I took inspiration from to make this mock, they only have like one face, and I thought that was like really weird. I usually like my buildable figures really expressive and stuff, so I made these. I could have made a lot more faces, but I think these are just fine as is. So this is what it looks like with the happy face. Pretty joyful being. They're just having fun in the world, and I think we should learn for that. So here's the determined face, ready to kick some Octarian butt or something. They just look like they're just saying, I'm gonna kick some butt and chew on some Krabby Cakes, but I don't have any Krabby Cakes, so I'm just gonna kick your butt. Well, unless you take into consideration that the Octarians were pushed by the Inklings into the underground and became oppressed and stuff, and they had to like go up, and they were put into freaking test tubes later on, and they turned green, and then they turned hairy. And yeah, I think I'm getting besides the point. But yeah, this is a very determined Inkling. What you gotta do? You're just gonna kick them butt. The base is, well, I'm actually really proud of this one. I never really built bases before, so this is pretty much just me building outside my comfort zone. So, and I really like how sleek it looks. It actually looks really detailed. So yeah, these are basically just the graffiti you would normally see in the game, and I thought it would be interesting to actually include them. My idea for this is that they would essentially be stickers, but since they're like rotated a bit, you can actually like put them however you want. So yeah, you don't need to be very precise when putting these on the tiles. Something I really liked adding into this that kinda was an accidental
thing. I mean, not really, since I did kind of plan for this. So let's just see it. Look at that. That's the first area you spawn in Octo Valley. My idea for this was that you could like put little objects, little things you want to put into it. Also, even these secondary faces, which, I mean, looking back, that doesn't actually provide much space to like add anything else if you put the secondary faces in. But oh well. Now for the top. The top, actually, I'm a fan of how I colored these. Some levels in Splatoon have a turquoise grass, and it being one of my favorite colors, I felt the need to represent it somehow. And the sand blue is meant to represent concrete, so there's that. Now for the signs. I only chose 2 of them. This sign over here is actually a very common sign. You would actually see this on a lot of levels. This one, very special because it actually comes from the first boss room. I just thought that making a little reference to the boss would be very interesting, a very neat callback. Now lastly, I want to talk about these flowers on the side. Now, what importance do the flowers have? Well, you just gotta move over, try to recognize the colors. So, if you didn't guess already, these colors represent the idols from the 3 games. So here we have Callie Marie from the first game, Pearl and Marina from the second, and Shiver Fry and Big Man from the third. I wanted to add these colors because I consider the idols a very essential part of the franchise, and well, I needed to reference them somehow. Oh yeah, before I forget, I would also like to talk about this little piece right here. A little information tile that would normally be seen in display sets. So yeah, this pretty much just details a lot of information about the Inklings of Splatoon 1. You got the alias, the species, and what have you. Yeah, that's all I got to show for this silly little creature. I know you're probably asking yourself, hey, what about the Inkling boy? What about him? Why are you just only making the Inkling girl? I don't know, that just seems like a very tall order. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish.
Boom!
Here it is. Inkling boy. Essentially, this is pretty much just the same set as before, but like the orange has been changed to blue, also to match the box art Inkling, and well, it's just the Inkling boy design, like the thicker eyebrows and the different hair, little what's it called, like ponytails? I don't know. And here's a little information tile for the Inkling boy. It pretty much just displays the same information, the same logo, except the colors are all blue. And well, what else is there to say? Cause it looks like we've made it to the end of this whole seafood buffet of a video. In case you haven't known by now, this whole mock is meant to be a LEGO Ideas project, meaning that if we manage to get a whole 10,000 supporters, then this mock will have the chance of becoming a real LEGO set. One you can buy, build, and display on your super gaming shelf inside your super gaming house. So I think it'd be super fresh of you if you click the link in the description or scan this little QR code right here. Both of these will take you to the project's page where you can click on this little button to give the project your utmost support. The new Squidbeak Splatoon thanks you for your service. Now, aside from that, if you're interested in checking out my other art and supporting what I make, cause trust me, I like doing a boatload of other stuff in different mediums, then go give these accounts a follow. And make sure to subscribe to this channel as well. That's all for now. Stay fresh, don't get cooked, and I'll catch you later. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.